All right, guys, I am excited because today we've got Scott McAllister, who is one of the not only biggest producing agents on the Treasure Coast, but he's also just one of the best people known on the Treasure Coast. Scott, I really appreciate you joining me today, my man.
Thank you. It's a privilege. I appreciate the invitation.
Yeah, I tell you, the way I heard your name was, I shouldn't say the way. I've heard your name so many times, and every time I hear it, it comes with, he's a great guy. He's such a giver. He's got a great personality. Everybody just talks you up, man. So you obviously have a great reputation in this area, and that's who I want to surround myself with. So I appreciate you coming on again.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So there are a couple of things that I want to get to that I think you're really having a lot of success with. And again, the whole point of my podcast is, locally it's fun to get other people who I think are doing great things in the community's name out. But I also think from a real estate standpoint, there's a lot of realtors watching. And it's great for people who are maybe struggling right now to see what people who are crushing it right now are doing. What are they doing differently than I'm doing? And how do I implement it? And again, just a testament to you, when I brought that up to you and I told you that, some of the purpose was to deliver helpful information to other realtors, you immediately said, awesome, I'm on board. Let's do it. So get right into that. You have a team that you work with. Can you tell us a little bit about your team structure and how that team serves your clients? How does that work?
Well, sure. Right now, we've got 3 team members. It is truly a family team. They're all McAllisters. It's my mother, Jane, my wife, Laura, and we have a transaction coordinator, Angie Stevenson, who does an amazing job. We are in the process of looking to hire a new admin. So that's another aspect that we're going to be putting onto our team. I think one of the things that a team really brings to a client, as opposed to, just a single agent. My mom was that single agent for 33 years. So there's absolutely nothing against that, but It's so hard in this business to do everything yourself.
At all. Yep.
When you are that lone wolf agent, I remember my mom, there were a couple times when she was crushing it. I mean, doing amazing business, and she's in tears because of paperwork. Yeah. She's making money, tons of money, and she's in tears. And I'm like, why are you hiring someone to do this? And I came from a restaurant background. So I was a restaurant manager, GM, regional manager. So I learned the idea of hiring people and, really delegating and doing what you're best at. And I'm like, Mom, you know what you're best at? You're best at getting listings. You're just amazing at getting listings. So why don't we focus on you getting listings? I'll work the buyers since I'm new. You'll teach me. And we'll hire someone to do the paperwork. And she went from holding 6, 7 listings at a time to 15 listings within a couple of months. And that almost triples your business, just doubling your listings. So she saw the value of that. Yeah.
And how long have you two been working together?
I joined her in 2013.
Okay.
This is actually her 40th year now, and I joined her 7 years ago. And
that's amazing.
Yeah. It's a long time, and it's not easy. I tried working with my mom when I was younger, when I was right out of college, and I thought I knew everything. Yeah, it didn't work so well. I had to learn that I wasn't nearly as smart as Mom before I did.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So you've got you and your mom. Your dad was a builder, right?
Yep.
And then you've got your wife and a TC, a transaction coordinator. Explain how that all came about timing-wise, and why you took them out. Was it just because they were family and needed a position, or was it at the appropriate time? How did that work for you?
No, we really I just got married about a little over a year ago, and actually Laura and I met through we're both in the leadership at the time was RAPB, now Broward, Palm Beach, and St. Lucie Realtors, and we went to the Leadership Academy. And actually, my mom you need to go do this, it'd be great. And her boss basically did the same thing. And we're like, yeah, fine. Ended up being one of the best decisions of our life. Seriously, the Leadership Academy we were in, which was 2017, 4 of the in the last 2 years of people who've won Realtor of the Year or Global Realtor of the Year, a Small Business of the Year, have been graduates of that. And I highly recommend it to anybody who might be interested in getting into leadership. So it kind of organically fell together. It was me and my mom, and my wife showed up. We had tried adding buyer's agents in the past, and I found out, I like to be that leader that always says, the captain decides everything that happens under them is their fault. Obviously aside from illegal or things like that, but anything that happened, I realized it was a failure in my aspect. And my failure with working with buyer's agents was I was focused on the value I was giving to them in leads, because I thought that's what all buyer's agents just want, your leads. They want your leads. And you know what? After 6 or 7 months, they start getting to the point, well, why can't I just do this myself? They don't understand the value you brought. And what I didn't explain to them was the value that I brought. And this, probably sounds arrogant to some people, but you know where I'm talking about. The value I brought as a leader, I spent 7 years going to every convention in the country, going to all the, going to the Florida Realtors, going to my company's big conventions, going to the small local conventions, establishing a network that I failed to explain what the value of that is to people. And, I had a really wonderful buyer's agent. She did 42 transactions in the first 20 months of her career, which is amazing for a brand new agent.
Yeah.
But she was splitting it with us, and she started resenting that split. And then the company split, and she, moved on, and we we parted ways on great terms. But within the next 6 months, she had 2 more transactions, and then she was out of the business. And she's actually come back to me, and I can say that she came back to me and said it was a huge mistake. She just didn't understand the value. But what that told me is that I failed to explain that value. And that's a lesson that we're eventually going to add buyer's agents to our team, but I'm going to remember that lesson dearly, because it's painful when you spend a long time training someone for them to just go away.
Yeah, that's an awesome lesson, though. And it's really tough because, especially in this industry, there are a lot of egos, and it's tough to find people who are successful and they don't have an ego, or at least their ego is a little bit smaller.
We all have a little bit of one.
A little bit of an ego. So it's nice to hear that you see that, and that's, you're growing. And I want to tell you too, and I left this in a message sheet today, knowing that you're in a leadership position really, to me, is so impressive, because for those of us who have done it, it sounds prestigious and it sounds really exciting at first until you get into it. And it is a job, and you're running your full-time business. And for you, it's not just a business, it's a team. So you've got other people depending on you, and you're running an association. So on behalf of everybody, I want to say thank you, because it is a bigger job than anybody who hasn't been in that position before truly thinks.
Yeah, it is. In fact, I know quite a few of the past presidents of our local associations.
They're all gray-haired.
Yeah. Every single one of them took a little bit of hit financially the year that they were president.
Yeah.
It was never their most successful financial year. I think in the long run, the connections that they made and the level of like you said, there's a little bit of, fame that comes with it. Fame's not the word, you know what I mean? You get some notoriety for being a leader. And I think in the long run, it really helps you.
Yeah. So one of the cool things that I think you've done, and it's really been a big part of, it was a big part of my 2020 plan, but now it's become such a big part because of everything going on with coronavirus, is just really building a sense of community, and not just building it because you're trying to get business out of it, although that's a really cool result, but just building it because you truly are going to be here for a while. So why not build a great community? So you've built, really, in my mind, one of the most impressive, like quick to success Facebook groups I've seen. And the successes that you were explaining the other day in that video you put out really blew me away. I don't want to steal your thunder. Can you tell us how you built that group, what the intent of the group is, and tell us a little bit about some of those cool things you were talking about in that video?
Well, you know what? I've heard for years, Facebook groups done right can be amazing, whether it's monetizing or whether it's just building a sense of community for people with specific diseases, or if you have a health challenge, there are groups that can really be helpful, where you can kind of feel, you become a support structure for each other. And I always felt like, I'm like, what am I going to do? Create a group that says, please buy a house for me? I'm like, who's going to buy that group? Buy that group? No one's going to want to be pitched every single day in a group. So I tried coming up with one, real estate tips. I got 2 people to join. Come up with this. It just didn't work. And then I had a group that I created. We actually had a page that I've had for years called 365 Things to Do in the Treasure Coast, which we just posted local businesses, concerts, things like that. And it actually got to the point, just because I consistently posted, if you search in Google, what to do in the Treasure Coast, it'll come up on the first page, the 365 things. But it still was never, there was the problem with pages, as we know, as opposed to groups, is there's just not the kind of connectivity that you get with a group. So I created a group of that page, and I just called it Treasure Coast 365 to keep it simple, try to make it a little bit more up to date, sound more modern. And I'd started it months ago, never really did much. And I heard a great webinar 3 weeks ago on Michael Mayer's Generosity Generation. And it was a great video about using groups to connect with your community and not to sell, not to sell yourself, except other than as a connector in the community.
Yes.
And the idea was to just find something. They're like, find a niche. If it is like, if you're into horses, find a horse niche. If you're into corgis, you create a corgi group.
Yep.
But I wanted to be something that was a little bit hyper local, they like to tell, but I also want to include the whole Treasure Coast, because that's my stomping grounds, is the whole Treasure Coast. So we did that, this was right when the COVID really started getting bad and the stay-at-home orders were put in. And I thought, you know what? I know there's these restaurants that are being left, that are now open, that are trying to stay alive and trying to keep their employees employed. And coming from the restaurant business, half of my friends on Facebook, and I mean literally half of the, so 2,500 of my friends on Facebook are in the service industry, and they are hurting bad. And I thought, how can I do something that keeps me relevant to the community, keeps my face in front of the community, but without that icky, oh, hey, I'm an important person, buy from me. I've heard ads from, a lot of realtors, and I think they're doing it tongue in cheek, but they're saying I'm essential and blah, blah, blah. And honestly, the optics of that, it's just not great. When we have the essential people who are out there, the doctors, the workers, heck, even the postman who's bringing our mail every day, they're far more essential than I am. Now, we know real estate is very essential to the economy, but the average person doesn't know that. And now I don't think is the time to be like, I'm so important. I don't like the optics of that.
So that group, go back to the video. Tell me a little bit about some of the things, the unintended great consequences that have happened.
Yeah, I mean, we've had the restaurants have been really, I've had people reach out to me and text me and thank you so much for what you're doing. They're asking, they're trying to give like, oh, we want to send you some free food. I'm like, no, let's use that. Let's give that away to somebody. Let's have some fun with that. And we've been doing a lot of that. But like one of the great things, we had a lady about a week ago, she locked her keys in her car and she was just freaking out. And she's like, I need a locksmith. Can anyone get over here? This locksmith called her and actually through the group messaged her and said, I'll be there in 20 minutes. And she texted later that he didn't even charge her. And of course we gave that guy props on the group. And one of the things I told the group up front was, I'm like, we're going to keep this obviously completely political free. Completely controversy free, and in fact, no negativity. If you have a negative experience with a business, we said, you know what, there's a place for that. Call the manager. Call the manager. Go on Yelp. I don't care what it is. This group is for building up the community and not taking it down. And I've only had 2 posts that we've had to remove out of 2,100 people. I've only had to remove 2 posts in 3 weeks. So that's not bad,
That's pretty amazing. And you've got how many people on there?
I'm just over 2,100 as of the recording of this.
2,100, and you've really only put in above average effort in the last 3 weeks, right?
Yeah, and one of the important things, because we are busy, and I've been very fortunate that we have been busy because I'm very referral based, so that's still coming in. But one of the big tricks I'll tell anyone when setting up a Facebook page or a group is find somebody who's really into what you're doing that would like to join you as a moderator. And that person will help you grow. And I found this wonderful young lady who she can't work right now because of what's going on. And she's been doing an amazing job promoting the group, and her name is getting out there too. So she's being a connector of the community. And I've been seeing people thank her directly. And one of the things I learned at an early age is seeing some of these. I used to go to real estate conventions with my mom even before I was old enough to drive. And I would see these people talk about the ultimate way to succeed at a high level in real estate is be the connector.
Yes.
Be that person that connects people. Even if you don't profit directly off of the connection, it'll always come back to you.
Yeah, I'm such a huge believer, and it sounds like you are too, of just forget about the sale, forget about the money, forget about the whole business aspect of it, and just literally try to be someone who helps people, connects people, gives to people, and the money just naturally comes, man. The more you think about money, the tougher it is to get it.
And the beauty about social media is because of the way the algorithms work, you don't have to beat people over the head with, I'm a realtor, I'm a realtor, I'm a realtor. if you engage with people at a high level on a daily basis, they're going to see your other videos on your personal page where I say, hey, I got a new listing. Hey, I've got this. They're going to know it without you saying it anyway. So I've only twice in 3 weeks actually mentioned the fact that I'm a realtor in the entire group, because I'm like, they're going to know it anyway. I don't need to beat them up on that.
Yep. I really like that, man. And you're exactly right. I mean, think of how many people that you get pitched who are non-real estate, and the pitches are kind of like, okay, I got it. But then when someone says, hey, I've got all this info to help you on that question you just had, and they're not asking you for anything, they're just giving, that person just instantly makes a connection with you, like you think, holy smokes, what a great person to go so far out of their way to give me something, and they're not asking me for anything in return, while everybody else is saying, I'm an electrician. So I couldn't agree with the mindset that you've got around that more. I think that's phenomenal, man. So,
and what's great is we're seeing people pop up in the community, and there's probably about maybe 15 people that I've seen really pop up in the community that have become local leaders that own different businesses, but that are really helping people. They came to get like clothes that I wanted to have donated and all these different things. And those people are going to be remembered. When this is all over, the owners of those businesses will be remembered.
Yep. 100%. That's a great point. You really have done a phenomenal job with that group, and I can see how that is going to, if it's not already helping you, it's going to serve you down the road. What else are you and your team doing right now to be successful in this market? Things that maybe other realtors are not doing right now, and what can you pass on to them that's helpful?
Well, I am still advertising, but I'm not advertising in the traditional sense. I mean, I'm putting up some of my listings, but I'm not doing any of these hire me as your broker kind of a thing. I'm giving people information.
Yes.
I'm watching a lot of webinars. I'm reading a lot of articles. I'm educating myself as best I can, because as we know, this market's changing on a weekly basis.
Yep.
And I'm trying to keep up on it. I'm listening to some of the top, economic minds, from all over the place, listening to NAR webinars and trying to get the most up-to-date data, and then distill it down to something that the public will get, because there's so many acronyms and terms that we use in real estate that people just don't understand. So I try to bring it down to a human level and then just educate the people and let them know, hey, based on what we know, this is where the market's going. I know you saw my video a few weeks back that I did where I'm like, hey, this is not like it's 2008. And I gave not just saying that. Some people are like, oh, it's not. But as you went through 8 or 9 steps, I didn't get the data. I listened to top minds and I took the data from them. But it really showed, slide by slide, how this is different from that previous market. Now, do we know everything's going to be wonderful and peachy keen? We don't know. We don't know where it's going. But based on the current data, and I know you've seen some of it, there's so many reasons that this is not like the Great Recession of 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
And I think by giving that information out and being that reliable source of information, then you're establishing yourself as that knowledge leader, which, it leads to people just reaching out to you.
Yeah.
And I'm also,
you're the dependable source. You're the one that they can trust to give them the information.
And the other thing is, it's not too late now. Start developing your referral leads with other people. Start working with other realtors. Get together with an accountability partner. I actually have an accountability partner over on the west coast of Florida that we talk every morning at 8 o'clock about, did we meet our goals? What did we do? And because of that, now we've actually sent business back and forth to each other in the past few weeks.
Yeah.
One of the reasons, we're still trying, but one of the biggest reasons we're still getting business right now, the listing I took today was a referral. The listing I took last week was a referral. 2 of the 3 buyers we're working with right now were referrals because we had established that. So they always say, I don't know how many, this is an old beat up, saw that people will use, but the idea that the best time to start your referral network was 10 years ago.
Yep.
The second best time to start your referral network is now.
Right now. Yes. Yeah, I agree. And I think, there's so many people that are in your position that have been in for 5, 10, 15 years. And when you are a newer agent, or you're an agent who just hasn't done more than 5 or 10 a year ever, you hear that and you think, well, great, you're getting referrals. I can't get referrals like that. But I think even, the bigger point that you made was, like you said, now is a great time to start. Forget about trying to get business now. Try to set up your business for 6 months from now, 12 months from now, 18 months from now. And it's magical how much now business you'll get while you're building that future business.
Absolutely.
So, great points, man. Great points. So now I want to delve a little bit into the mindset of a buyer. If you've got a buyer right now, and the big common question that we're getting is, I'm thinking about buying, I want to buy, but I'm a little bit scared to buy now, or maybe I should wait 6 months, 12 months to see if prices take a dip. What is the counsel that you're giving people in that position as a buyer?
Well, first thing is we're always hooking them up because we do our, you meet with somebody, you go through their buyer's needs and wants. We're also making sure that we're hooking up with the financial aid, unless they're cash right now. We're hooking them up with those lenders because, as we know, the lending has changed.
Daily.
So it's greatly changed. So honestly, for some people, 6 months down the road might be the time that they have to buy. And we're not desperate. I don't want to push people to buy just so that I can make a commission, because it's never going to be the right thing in the long run. But there are people who need to buy now. There are people who have to be moved in. There are people who want to be moved in before next school year starts. And people are starting to look at those things right now so that they can get that lined up. When we're talking about their fears as far as the market, we can't make we never try to make any predictions, but I do show them the numbers and the fact that inventory is still low.
Yeah.
The builders underbuilt this time rather than overbuilt like they did the last time.
Yes.
If this goes on for another year, anyone's bet is what happens. Yeah. But if this ends by summer, there's likely to be an increase in sales come the end of the third quarter, definitely the fourth quarter.
Yes.
Just because there's still the buyer desire, the rates are still low, although right now it's harder to get those rates depending on what you need. But the inventory is still low. I have some investors that are calling me and they're looking at their chops. They're like, oh, I can't wait. Things are going to drop and I'm going to buy things at 25 cents on the dollar and I'm going to make so much money. And I'm like, I don't see that. Yeah. I don't see appreciation. I think the numbers I'm looking at are going to show 0 to 2% appreciation this year.
Yep.
So we're looking at very low. Yeah. But then back to the 3-4% next year. And then by 2022, things are looking to be back at the 5% rate. Just the same with the unemployment numbers are looking to, now we're in double digits, but by January, we should be back down to the 9% level. And by 2023, which sounds a long way off, but we should be back down to 4%. The economy looks like it's going to keep chugging along. So I think waiting, because you're like, oh, I'm going to make this huge score. The rates aren't going to stay like this when the economy recovers.
Yeah.
So I think it's at least worth finding out your options now.
Yep.
Now, if you're afraid because of reasons with health reasons, that's something that's very easy to solve. We have all of our things like today, the listing we took today, I did photography, I did a drone video outside, and I did a stabilized walkthrough video.
Yes.
So there's no reason to have that showing where someone walks in and goes, oh, I hate the placement of the fireplace.
Yep.
Oh, I don't like where the stairs are. So we're actually putting in our listing agreements and on the MLS, please do not request an in-person showing until they viewed all 3 sources of video that we had, and they're ready to make an offer. They're saying, you know what, unless I get a creepy feeling in this home, I'm going to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
And that's making both our sellers and our buyers feel better.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm making up these numbers, but I think I had 9 pending since this all started, and 7 of them never even went and looked at the house. It was literally me doing a FaceTime with them, the inspector sending them a report with videos. Closing was an e-sign or it was in the parking lot, right? And they just kind of slipped it with gloves on. Yeah, it's kind of creepy, but whatever, it's new. So it's completely doable. And you got to remember, as new as this might feel, how many out-of-state buyers have you had who do that exact thing all the time? It's not that crazy.
In fact, I see people on Facebook going, oh, who would buy a house on sight unseen? I'm like, before this, we had people from out of state buying houses sight unseen.
Yeah.
So there's more of it now, but so long as you as a buyer's agent really cooperate with the seller's agent, and this is when we need that cooperation more than anything. I mean, come on. You and I, we've talked about this before just through Facebook, the idea of cooperation amongst. This is not a time to say, this is my company, rah, rah, rah. We're realtors. We're here to do what's right. There's a company fit for everyone.
Yep.
And right now is the time to do what's right for our buyers and our sellers. and forget all that partisanship I think that we had before when it came to companies, where like, this is the only great company to work for. And I've seen that so much in leadership. It has taught me that because, when I'm on the board of directors, I was with Keller Williams, which, was really huge. And when I was on the board of directors, they had like no representation at the leadership. And I felt like I got to meet people from the highest level companies to a little boutique mom and pop group that there's 5 agents, and yet there's still an agent that's part of that's in leadership. Yeah. And I think we need that representation from every level of the real estate company. And I'm with a smaller company now, but I don't think it diminishes what we're doing in any way.
No, everybody in my company is not going to like that I'm saying this, but I really don't think your company, especially now, matters hardly at all. To us in the background, away from our clients, maybe it matters to the, how your setup is with the company and your bottom dollar and everything else, but nobody cares what company you're with anymore. And honestly, the value that I bring, my company, let me think before I say this, I don't think my company does anything that provides you any more value than any other. I've been at Keller, and I really like Keller. And before that, when I was in Minnesota, I was at a place called Edina Realty. They just don't have Edina Realty down here. But that place, nobody ever asked me. Nobody cares. And I agree with you 100%. And I also agree with, I think you were kind of alluding to this point. I think it is such a cool part of your plan to reach out and build connections with realtors, regardless of whether they're in your brokerage or not, and build these connections. Scott, when you and I do a deal next time, that deal is going to be so easy, and all the little hurdles are going to be exactly that, little hurdles. And it's so nice to work with people like that. We've all worked with people who make little things into big things, and it makes it really challenging. Oh, yeah. And I'm smarter than you, and you don't know as much as me. And
I've done this for 20 years. And although I always love it when the person says I've done this for 20 years, I know what I'm doing, you have no clue. And then you look up at their production and they did 3 deals last year. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but don't get on your high horse and try to act like
I think it's really great to have people like you in the industry who are just such fans of just being hard workers and getting to it for the clients, and just, I don't know. It's just great. It's refreshing to have somebody like you in this market. Let me read I'm not even going to read this. Let's just bring it up.
Yeah.
Let's see what this is. I haven't read this at all. How much will this change our market? Before we were talking about Uber agents, how will this virtualization alter how we do things? That's an interesting question, especially that last sentence to me. I have seen... Now, this is my opinion, and also I am at a more virtual, and I think you are too, at a little bit more virtual brokerage. I really do think that, and this isn't a real estate thing, I think everybody is finding out right now that they need to become more and more virtual as a business, because you don't know what the next coronavirus is going to be. It could be anything, and you don't know what that is going to restrict you on, and you don't know what challenges you're going to have with that. And the more you're able to bend and be flexible, I mean, if you would have said 6 weeks, maybe not 6 weeks ago, 10, 12 weeks ago that this was going to happen, 80, 90% of people would have rolled their eyes and said, whatever. And they would have kept doing business the old way they do it. And you have to change or you're going to become extinct right now. I don't think it's just what we're doing right now either. I think even though the stuff that you just talked about with the virtual showings and the inspections and the closings, those are all great things for now. We got to get even better. Like, we got to find something even better in 6 months from now, or that idea is going to become extinct. Don't you think?
Oh yeah. And for everyone, this is not just for realtors, but anyone who's in a sales position, and pretty much anyone, get comfortable with video. Video is not going away. Great point. The more virtual we get, the more important video is going to be, because if you try to have a virtual consult with a customer in another state, and we're not talking during a pandemic, just you have a customer in Alaska that's moving down to Florida. So you're talking to them. If they want to see you on your face and it's just your picture and they're not seeing you visually, you're not going to create that same connection. But what's amazing is the way our brains work. If we see someone, we see their face, we actually make a real connection with them.
Yes.
So you and I talking like this, even though we're not in front of each other, the fact that we can see each other's face, it almost feels like we're having that face-to-face conversation.
Yeah.
And getting people, I hear people all the time, they're just, obviously the younger realtors, not so much generally because they're used to TikTok and all this stuff. So videos with them. But I'm sorry, if you don't embrace video and if you don't embrace being part of this technology, it's okay. But it might be time to say, you know what? Maybe I want to look into, selling my book of business or, finding someone off because I'm not comfortable in that sphere. I do believe there's going to still be room for every way of doing real estate, but this way of doing real estate is becoming really the go-to. And if you're not comfortable being in front of a camera, I just tell people, just do it. I 3 years ago, I was at KW Family Reunion. I went and saw this guy who did this amazing video, and he was doing this whole talk on video. He had this $10,000 video. He's from LA. So this $10,000 video with, drone cameras pulling away from them, all dramatic.
Yeah.
He did tests on his video. Obviously, he spent so much money. He got more engagement off of just holding his camera in an open house talking to people than he got off of that $10,000 video, because people looked at it and are like, what is this slick produced video? When they see you on your camera, even if it's a little shaky, although I do recommend getting a steady cam. It's worth it. Stabilizer. But it's so much more genuine. Yes. You don't need to do these perfect, beautiful videos with, the most amazing wipes and everything. You can get there. And there are some great video makers out in our industry, even locally, and you know who they are too. Yeah. But that being said, just do it. You don't have to be the greatest friend. Everyone has a cell phone with a camera in it. Just get your phone in front of there. Your clients will see you and it'll remind them of you. Do those Facebook Lives at your open house, but just also make sure when you are engaging in social media, what is it, the 80-20 rule that for everything, it always seems like that, but make sure you're not just posting about real estate.
Yeah.
Make sure you're posting that picture, beautiful picture you took of the sunset. Make sure you're engaging like, oh man, I went and I ate at Buffalo Chop House last night, and it was the most amazing steak, and talking about that. So you feel like a member of the community who happens to be a realtor, not a realtor who's just trying to be part of your community.
Yeah. You know? And holy smokes, you've got a personality. You're not just a guy who sells houses. Yeah, I think that's a great point, my man. I've got another one up here, and I'm gonna let you take an at bat at it first. Sure. Although I'm putting you at a disadvantage because I've been thinking about it here for a second. Okay. My buddy David, he's a Century 21 agent. He says, Joe, can you speak to the price of oil going to an all-time low? This historically is a bad indicator of rough times ahead. I'd personally like to hear more about this. Thanks.
I was actually just on talking with the investment planning group 2 days ago. They were asking me about the real estate side of things, and especially about because they were talking about marijuana stocks at the time. Yeah. And since we do a lot of farm and ranch and we have a niche, we have a lot of people speculating in land for the future for potential, CBD, marijuana clinics, things like that. And so I was talking with them about that. And then when it was over, they went into the oil side. And I'm definitely not an expert in that. I'm not an investment guy at all. They did say that's the one really area that is scaring them. Because they look back at 2008, we talked about that, all those numbers. They said everything shows that that's right. But I mean, what is it? Was it negative $37 yesterday? Like, yeah. I wish I could buy barrels and stick them in my garage.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
The idea. That honestly, because I see people going about how great. Oh man, I just got gas for 99 cents. Yeah, you know what? I'd rather pay $2.25 for gas and know that our oil is in good shape.
Yeah, me too.
So I am a little worried, but I think that obviously this whole no one's driving. I've driven my car 12 miles in the last week.
Yeah.
So I think part of the reason the demand is low is because of that. Yes, the Russia, OPEC problem, they have their own issue. I think they'll figure it out, and then the prices will go back up once the use comes there. But I am not an expert in investment, so that's about as far as I would look into a crystal ball.
Yeah, and I'm gonna bring this back up because there's a point I want to make. This historically is a bad indicator of rough times ahead. David, I'd say this. I don't know enough, just like Mr. McAllister here, about the indicators and how they're connected. I see where you're coming from, though, and I believe that that's probably true if that's what you're telling me. But I would say this. When it comes to the U.S. economy or even your local economy, maybe. But when it comes to you being a realtor, I really just don't think it matters. I sold in 2007, 2008, 2009, and it sucked. But the smart, hardworking realtors got with investors, they got with Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, they got all the contracts so they could do the short sales and the foreclosures, and you figure it out. You either figure it out or you die. You adapt or you die. And it's just like you and I talking about the virtual showings and the virtual inspections. You either figure it out or your clients go somewhere else. And I think the same is true when you get scared of things that change in business. There's always a way forward, and it's scary and it's going to be new and you're not going to know what the hell you're doing at first, but you just got to attack it and come after it, And if you do that, guys like you, Scott, are always going to succeed. It just doesn't matter what the market's like.
Well, in Florida, I think that's true in general for real estate, but Florida specifically, I mean, we have the very fortunate. I mean, one, we got the weather, and we also have an amazing tax structure compared to, especially a lot of my customers come from the Northeast. I'm seeing people flee Connecticut and places like that. Plus, they think about if there's another, say, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, there's another pandemic of some kind. If you're going to be, quarantining in place, where would you rather be?
Yeah.
And also, we do a lot of with veterans. We work with a lot of veterans, as I know you do too. 30% of all retiring veterans move to Florida. So there's a huge market right there. Wow. I mean, especially disabled veterans, if you're going to have a disability, you're going to want to live in a warm climate. You can live in California where they've got, taxed up the yin yang, and a 3-bedroom house is $900,000.
Yeah.
I love when California customers come over here. They look and they go, oh, I got that in my wallet.
Yeah. Feels like I'm buying a cheeseburger.
Exactly.
One more question that I'm going to bring up from the comments, and then I've got one last question for you. Do you see new businesses being born as a result of this whole pandemic here?
Like, do you mean like a new kind of business or just more business?
I'm not sure. I'm guessing, do you see new businesses? I'm guessing they mean new, like, actual industries. Oh, well, yeah. I mean, the photographers are going to have to adjust because they're going to need to start learning the 3D, Matterports, the things like that. They're going to need to adjust just like we are. So there's new people coming out doing that. I'm sure, I don't know if it's necessarily new business, but I see current businesses finding a way to have a new niche. Like I'm seeing cleaners now that are specifically saying, we will come and disinfect your home, prior to moving in and things like that. Right now, offhand, I can't think of any new business types that might be coming in, but there's always an enterprising person that will probably come up with something. Yeah, and anytime there's a need that's not being fulfilled, people are going to build a business to fill that need, man. And right now, we've got a lot of needs, and it's just been such a short amount of time. We haven't seen the businesses built yet, but they're going to start popping up. I mean, we've had mobile notaries forever, and I've got a great friend of mine who's a mobile notary, and I haven't found the excuse to use her until now. Now there's a great reason to use her. And title companies are coming up with the e-sign programs, which I wasn't seeing a whole lot of. So now you've got e-sign, whoever's building that software, that's a new industry, or at least it's an industry that was maybe there and now it's booming. So I think you're going to see anytime there's a need to be filled, you're going to have a new business or industry built because of that.
I think it's a good time for full-time, people who are committed to this. And when I say full-time, I mean, you're committed to the business full-time. I know there are people who still, you have another job because you're working into it, but I mean, your commitment is full to this business. Yeah. You're going to succeed. The people who are doing it as a hobby, I see them, a lot of them going away. It happened back in 2008. But if you're really committed to the business, I believe that you can succeed even through these times.
Yes. So my last question is pretty close to the last one I had, which is, okay, instead of a buyer, now you've got a seller. And a seller comes out and says, man, these are scary times. I don't know how many buyers are actually going out and buying, and what kind of prices are they going to offer me? Is this the best time to sell, or should I wait 6 to 12 months and see what happens?
Well, I always tell them, show them the numbers. Each day we're pulling the numbers. We're saying St. Lucie County, there were 24 closings yesterday, 65 new listings, these things. So you say there's still the activity there. If you're worried, if you're one of those people, I don't see the prices going down, but if that's where your mindset is, then absolutely now is the time to sell. I don't think that's what's going to happen. But that being said, we do know that prices aren't going to appreciate significantly. Like I was saying, 0 to maybe 2% this year. So the chances of waiting 6 months to get more money, it's unlikely. What's going to happen in a couple of years, who knows? But if you're ready to sell now, why are you worried about what's going to happen in 2 years?
Yeah.
Prices are just going to be higher for you to buy something again anyway. So one of the things we're telling them is if you get set now and you get your house on the market now, as things hopefully start to wind down, there's going to be a scramble of buyers once they feel comfortable about getting out there. And the ones that are on the market, or at least ready, you have the house ready to go, you're ready to do your photography, you're ready to hit the ground running, those are going to have an advantage because they're going to be ready to be sold. And I think it's a really good opportunity to kind of jump the gun of the houses that are going to be on the market, come a month from now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll say too, just to add to that, I mean, when I was selling in the last pandemic of 2008 and 2009, even when the market went south, sellers just didn't want to budge on price for a good 6, 8, 10 months. They didn't care. So, we haven't been hit nearly as bad now as they were then. And, we're already being released out in the wild already, back to our jobs, so that, the incomes are going to come back. I agree with you in that I don't foresee this being anywhere near what 2008 was. But even if it is, it's going to take 6, 8, 10 months for sellers to agree to drop their price, because most people can sit in their homes that long before they have to. And, I saw a stat just today. I posted on my Facebook page. I forget what it was, but this was the lowest amount of listings on the market in the U.S. since 1999, which means if you're a seller, I just had a seller today say, we're thinking about selling right now. Should we or should we wait? I said, you've got less competition now than you would have since 1999. And when you look at the buyer traffic, I've seen a boost in buyer traffic. Now, I don't know if that boost is short term because people are like, oh, I need to get into a house right now because of everything that's going on. Or if it's, I don't know if it's going to last or not. I've seen it kind of wane off a little bit, back down to normal numbers. But I think the buyer traffic is pretty consistent. Sellers have come back a little bit on actually listing their property. So I would argue it's a better time with this snippet of time, right? I mean, who knows what 30 days, 60 days, 90 days from now is going to look like. But in this snippet of time, your competition's never been better.
No, I agree. And there is, because there's actually very little out there, and if you can find that niche, or do something, pick a niche like farm and ranch where you're doing something that other people aren't doing.
Yeah.
There's always a way out there if you're entrepreneurial to find it.
Yeah. Well, let's end with this, my friend. You mentioned you had a couple team members, but there was one team member I don't think you mentioned, and he's right behind you there. What's his name, Luke?
That is, there we go. That is Luke. Luke the Frenchie dog. He is the mascot for Next Home. And it's funny. It seemed like a silly thing. I remember when my broker joined there, and I'm like, what is that? And then it's funny, for the past year, I've been trying to come up with some kind of branding like it myself, like McAllister Marlin, or come up with my own thing, just because I like the simple 2D, bold color. And it's fun. So we actually named our website, because we say you're going to follow the Frenchie to your next home. So followthefrenchie.com is our website. And people reach out and go, that is a weird name. But I'm like, yeah, but it made you ask the question, didn't it?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. And it's fun, and it's simple. And I see you guys all the time, you and Brian and Christy, posting videos and pictures with it. It's fun and it's simple. I think it's ingenious, man. It's a great marketing.
We gotta have fun doing this job or we'll go nuts, right?
Yeah. Well, look, I've already lost my hair, man. Yeah. You don't have to tell me twice.
This beard was black a year ago.
Yeah, exactly. It's like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, my friend. I sincerely appreciate it. Listen, guys, Scott is a phenomenal realtor on the Treasure Coast. I've got all of his information, how you can contact him on social media up in the comments. And Scott, again, I just can't thank you enough. I really appreciate it. And hopefully we do a dozen deals this year, my man.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure talking to you, my friend.
All right. Have a good one.